Hey everybody, it's Sabrina from ATLYS, and I'm back with part 2 of custom click track basics. If you haven't seen part 1, you gotta go check it out because we build upon those same skills in this video. And if you have, let's get into today's topic, which is basic tempo changes. All right, so let's talk about it. One of the most difficult things about remote recording as a classical musician is that in this genre, music really should not feel so held tight to the grid, to the metronomical, computerized, perfectly even and linear grid that a computer creates. We're human, we have spontaneity, and things have to progress organically, which usually is not linear. So, this is one of the major challenges we face, but using the tools that we have in Logic, we can do our best to create a click track that really does start to mimic the human organic feeling when it comes to tempo changes. And so I'm going to take you through Logic, and I have to show you the basics of how to change tempo and create ritardandos and accelerandos, but I'll show you how to do it in a way that feels as human as possible, and you actually do have some control over the organic quality. This is perfect for if you're building your own custom click track for a piece that has no pre-made elements. But if you are using a track, let's say that somebody else recorded and they recorded it without a click, this video might start to give you a glimpse of how to create a click track that you can retroactively fit, but there's a lot more manual labor and tedious work that goes into doing that, which I will be covering in another tutorial. So let's jump in. So we're going to begin just like we had in the previous video by clicking here and pulling down our tempo map. Let's start with the easiest kind of tempo change, a subito or sudden change, which means there's no transition into it. It's just one tempo and then suddenly another. Right at the measure where the tempo changes, you're going to click on the line and create a dot there. Select the line after the dot and pull it down to make the BPM slower or up for faster. The number in white is your BPM. And there you have a perfectly clean Subito tempo change. Now I'm afraid that in most cases, recording over a Subito tempo change is actually really difficult because there is no warning and you almost feel like you have to memorize what the new tempos sound like. That sort of defeats the whole purpose of having a click track. If you subscribe to this channel, I'm going to release a video about how to make your click tracks the most user-friendly. We're just getting started here with the basics. Let's get a little bit more interesting here with a tempo transition, like Accelerando or ritardando. We now need another point on the line to establish where the transition begins. Then you'll see all the way at the corner a little black dot. Grab it with your mouse and drag it over. Right at that middle point between the two white dots, you'll feel the black dot lock into place. This is a perfectly linear transition. Let's listen to it. It's very seamless. Even though these two tempos are not that different, we hardly perceive the change because it's so steady. Almost too steady. It turns out our human approach to transitions is a little bit more organic, so you can actually drag that black dot up or down and change the curve of the transition. So that upward facing curve results in a dramatic drop at the end of the measure, versus this one, which slows you down earlier and makes you feel more established in your new slower tempo. See that? Cool stuff. If you'd like or need even more control over the rate of change, you can go in and manually adjust the tempo change beat by beat or even smaller if needed. This is tedious, but might be necessary for some projects. Now here's one of my pro tips for a good click track. If your BPM is slower than 90, I highly recommend that you increase the subdivisions per bar. With only clicks on the larger beats, there's a lot of wiggle room in between for your session players to pull apart and not play together. In this example here, I'm actually going to increase the subdivisions to 16th notes for the bar. That's 16 over 16. Especially if what you have to play is an 8th note motion, you need these subdivisions to stay on track. Especially if you have multiple players recording to the same track, you need this amount of information within those bars for everybody to be on the same page. Once the tempo stabilizes, it's okay to go back to a larger subdivision because the constant 16th notes will be too much if nothing's changing. I do, however, recommend that you continue to use subdivisions of 8/8 and not 4/4 when the BPM is below a certain point. Only if the music were written in a way that everybody had, let's say, whole notes the whole time. In that case, it would be all right to go into 4/4. I'm a firm believer that the click track should reflect the piece you are recording. You may get the sense that this kind of work is great for a control freak. But the truth is that the better you have your click track set up for the session, the more successful it goes for everybody involved. And it really is worth that extra effort to make sure you have it the way you want it. So thank you for watching. Definitely subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified of the next click track tutorials coming up. And also, we just have a lot of other cool stuff on this channel that you probably would enjoy. Don't take my word for it, go check it out. Thank you so much for watching. Leave any questions below, and I'll see you around.